Joining us now, Washington Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So why was this bill, which as we know had bipartisan support, so popular?
This is important legislation to protect Americans, to protect American children from the Chinese Communist Party ultimately. TikTok is a tool that is controlled by ByteDance and ultimately the Chinese Communist Party. And the legislation is a targeted, very specific approach to protect us from these kind of tools, these apps, these applications that are controlled by foreign adversaries that are collecting massive amounts of data and can ultimately use that as a destructive tool targeting America and American children. And the House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed this bill that would force TikTok to make the choice as to whether or not it wants to remain controlled by ByteDance and ultimately the Chinese Communist Party, or it would have to sell. There would have to be a sale of TikTok. And so the legislation is based upon national security concerns that have been raised, and the House took action.
Yeah, I want to go through some of those national security concerns for people that are at home and maybe don't have TikTok. The algorithms on TikTok here in the U.S. are designed to basically get as much user information as possible. I think it's also very telling that TikTok in China does not allow the majority of content that TikTok here in the U.S. allows. It also floods users with just bad information, especially during election years. And many people in both parties have called it an espionage tool for the Chinese government. Congresswoman, I'm curious, you heard the voicemail there that Senator Tillis got. Have you gotten any voicemails like that?
Yes, the day that the committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee, voted to pass this bill out of committee, that morning TikTok blocked its users, 177 million users in America, from even getting on to the app until they called their member of Congress. And we all were flooded by calls from individuals, some kids that didn't even know what Congress is. They didn't understand what was going on, and that was just a small taste of what TikTok is capable of doing. TikTok is collecting massive amounts of data on Americans. All of these 177 million users, so they are collecting whether it's location data, your contacts, your search history, just massive amounts of data. And we know that this is how China operates in, or how the CCP operates in China, how they collect data, they surveil, ultimately to control their citizens. We cannot trust China to protect American user data or to uphold American values like freedom. And that is why so many members, overwhelming in the House, 352 Republicans and Democrats, believe that we must take action. It really is important. It is critical that we take action to protect America, to protect American users, our children, from TikTok and other apps that are controlled by foreign adversaries.
So what happens now? Does it pass the Senate? We know that Joe Biden has said if it gets to his desk, he will sign it.
I believe that the Senate needs to act. The overwhelming vote in the House sent a very strong message to the Senate. I know that yesterday the Senate received a classified briefing, and Senator Mark Warner, Senator Marco Rubio have come out in support of this legislation. Yeah. Other senators are also coming on board, believing that we must take action.
Yeah, and we'll see, Congresswoman, if the Chinese block this, and the CCP has indicated that they would block any sale, just in about 15 seconds, what happens to TikTok if that happens? Is it still banned here in the U.S.?
Well, TikTok will have a choice to make. They could choose to remain controlled by ByteDance and ultimately the Chinese Communist Party, or they would have to choose to divest. They would have to sell. Right. So the choice is going to be up to TikTok. And in what the legislation says is in 180 days they would be forced to sell or be banned in the United States. So you would not be able to access TikTok on Apple or Google or these other sites.
The way I'm reading it, I don't think the CCP is going to allow the ByteDance sale. That's the way that I'm reading what's happening right now. We'll see what happens in the Senate. But if Joe Biden is indicating to Democrats in the Senate that he'll sign it, You would think this would be more bipartisan, but we will certainly follow this as it plays out over the next several weeks. Congresswoman McMorris, Rodgers, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
You too.
Thanks.